Oh, it's lit. We prime time. Subscribe, like, and share. Give us your feedback. Yo, I'm Manny at the plate and Kobe off a steal. Gretzky for the goal and Brady at the wheel. I'm a game changer, the Osaka of the tennis, and breaking scoreboards. Simone of the Olympics, defense and big business. The Mayweather who way better. From the greatness of Jim Brown, I've been down. Talking sports before I was off the porch. Screaming Bo knows while Jordan was playing horse. Late 80s getting torched by the drive and the shot. 2016 got a ring off the three in the block. They eased to forgot the cardiac kids. Price and Doherty, Bale in the Indian years. This who it is. Your host DeeTrynt, yo, that's a name banger. Come in the streets and talk sports with the game changer. Yo, your host DeeTrynt, that's a name banger. Come in the streets and talk sports with the game changer. DeeTrynt, Game Changer Sports Talk, Industry Sports. That was really good. All right. Well, it's been a little second. All-Star game that came and passed. Cleveland showed out. Shout out to Cleveland for showing out. And, that was a couple weeks ago. Now I'm getting to you on March 5th, and taking this time out that it's March 5th, you know what I'm saying? Shout out a happy C-Day to the man behind the scenes, you feel me? Founder of the joint InDaStreetzSportz and, allowing us to do our thing over here, you feel me? So shout out happy C-Day to Hooli, you feel me? I just want to get that on the national broadcast. So make sure y'all show some love, show support, you feel me? Follow all what we do, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of interesting things that go on these channels within these social media pages, you feel me? So y'all should definitely get with it. All right, but we here to talk Cleveland sports, man. I mostly want to talk about the Browns. I mean, my Cavs doing pretty good. But, I'm going to shoot my own segment on the Cavs. Maybe I might end it off on the Cavs. I don't know. What I will tell you is, though, Cleveland fans, don't panic. Don't panic, all right? These Cavs clearly overachieved in the first half of the season, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Now, they ain't saying they should just tank, but right now, they're learning how to win. You feel me? See, they played off hustle. They played off understanding how to play basketball. Now we getting down to the X and O's of each individual. You feel me? Garland is succeeding. But remember, Garland in his third year. You know what I'm saying? Remember how Saxton took off last year in his third. You know what I mean? Jared Allen's second year in the system. Year and a half in the system. Laurie Marketing is still new to the system. Isaac Okoro, but don't panic. Let them go through their growing pains. Regardless of what happened, they should still end up in the playoffs. And that's a victory. They play hard, do the best they can, and they develop. You know what I'm saying? Everything they do from this point on is a victory. So we don't got to worry about trades or acquiring. We just got to worry about getting everybody healthy and seeing how deadly they are with everybody healthy. And that's even going into the off season and all that. We don't got to worry about. We just got to worry about getting everybody healthy and seeing how they play healthy. You know what I'm saying? And next year we can really figure out, not only how dynamic this team is, these Cleveland Cavaliers, but how lethal they is as well. So Cavs fans, don't panic. Take this time out as you see each game, encourage each player. You know what I'm saying? JB is Coach Biggerstaff doing a hell of a job. You know what I'm saying? I will say, some tweaking he could do. But, he can't play the game. And if the players don't execute the way he put it down, but be proud of the Cavs. You know what I'm saying? They going to be real good, and they going to end the season off right. But speaking of end of the season, we are at the end of the season here with these Browns, right? We all know what happened. They didn't even make the playoffs. Playoffs? Playoffs? You trying to win a game and you talk about the playoffs. And it's a lot of reasons for why this and that and that. But the bottom line is they finished 8-9. All right. And they got some things to handle. Now, let's get into what they need to handle. Because this is kind of like my whole point for coming up on this podcast and talking to y'all today. All right, because this shit is crazy. The Cleveland Browns, let's talk about the facts. They have one of the best offensive lines in the game. They're still young. Especially if you take away the age of DeeTrynt, they're still young and they're very um, they're also coached by one of the finest offensive line coaches in the league ever. Um, so they're good in the area. They have a great running game. They have quite a few tight ends. They got some young weapons they drafted. Two-headed monster at running back. Dearness Johnson might just leave. I can't blame him because he's going to get paid and get some shot. The receiving core is a question. You got a dynamic player on that defensive line that you got locked in. You got two nice linebackers that you drafted. You have 4, 6, 7 good defensive backs that you drafted and acquired via free agency. And, you got, a good coaching staff and a good front office that's going into that third offseason. So, looking at the facts, the Browns in a good place. Now, what are the question marks? What are the things the Browns need to focus on here this offseason? Now, it's really only like 2 or 3 main things. I'm going to say 4 main things, but each individual main thing got like, quite a few questions that come with that. Now, I want people to understand, for my 30-something years of watching and playing this game of football, I always said that it takes a coaching staff in the new regime 4 to 5 years to get their system and their players the way they want, depending on how they come into the situation. All right, because you got to take the first year to see what you got and to see how your system fits what you got and what you need. You know what I'm saying? And the way you kind of figure that out is by what standout players do you have, versus the system that you have or the way you try to really like run your team. You know what I'm saying? And what you need to acquire. All right. So, you probably got some contracts, in this first year, and sometimes maybe the first 2 years, it take to get that. But by year 3, you should start seeing some very good progress. And by year 4, you should definitely see some knocking on the door. By year 5 or 6, this franchise should be all the way turned around. This coach has been here, has a college tenure, which will be 4 years, 5 and 6, and you figure what's going on. Now, of course, the NFL is a short leash. A lot of people don't really get that leniency. But if you're properly building a team, this is how you properly build a team. Because once that coach, that front office establishes who are the star players, who are the guys that are going to get paid, and that the scheme is really revolved around per se. All right? The guys that bring in the fans, bring in the attention, bring in the big bucks, make the big plays. All right? And then once you figure those out, now you know what type of guys to draft and bring in to help rotate in and play a role. Because there can only be so many stars. Now, the thing about a good defense or a good team in football is you can have at least one star at every level. You know what I'm saying? Now you might can't pay every star top dollar at every level, but you could definitely compete. All right, you can have a good receiver, at least one good receiver, at least one good running back, at least one good quarterback, at least one or two good linemen offense, at least one good lineman defense, at least one good linebacker, at least one good corner, at least one safety. If you got at least that, all right, you can move around that. A la now. If we talk about safeties, I will talk about Bob Sanders. That is the safety that stands out to me when I talk about this. Indianapolis defense with Peyton Manning wasn't that great, but when you added Bob Sanders and the different things he could do, everybody else played a role that allowed Bob Sanders to do what he do well, and that was good enough to get them to a Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? Uh, you could take Brian Urlacher. Now, don't get me wrong, Brian, or Zach Thomas. Let's go Zach Thomas, former linebacker at Miami, or Miami Dolphins. All right. Didn't always have a lot around him. Had Sam Anderson and Patrick Surtain for a while. He had Jason Taylor for a minute. But for the most part, it was, just Zach Thomas. And he controlled the middle. You had teams that, take Jason Taylor before they got Zach Thomas. He was kind of the only thing on that defense. And he was a defensive end. It's just, you can have at least one guy on every level. You know what I'm saying? And what the Browns have right now is a plethora of guys. I know plethora is a kid word to use, but they have multiple players on multiple levels that they can really build this thing around. All right. So let's talk. Right. Miles got a 6-year, $125 million extension that starts this year. Because Miles was drafted with David Njoku. So it was Miles, Njoku, and Peppers. This is their 5th year, and I know that because Njoku is a free agent, which we're going to get to. So his extension starts this year. Right? $25 million a year. Denzel Ward. No, we ain't going to get them yet. John Johnson III, you signed last year. Locked in for another 3 seasons. Troy Hill, that you signed free agency. He's locked in for at least another 3 seasons. Greg Newsome, who you drafted. Now, these safeties and defensive back. Cornerback Greg Newsome, who you drafted last year, he said locked in for another 4 seasons. Grant Delpit, the safety you drafted the year before last, he's still locked in for another 3 seasons. Jeremiah Wusu-Koroma, the linebacker, he locked in for another 3 seasons. Jacob Phillips locked in for another 2 seasons. You got Tommy Togiai on the defensive line. You got Jordan Elliott. Togiai still locked in for at least 2 seasons. Jordan Elliott locked in for another 1. And I'm just highlighting the defense because we're going to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? The offense, they re-signed Wyatt Teller. They right guard Wyatt Teller. They re-signed left guard Joe Bitonio. They drafted Jedrick Willis, who still got another 3 years on his contract. They signed Jack. Hello? We good?
Yeah, you should be back now.
We
You
good?
just clicked out. Yeah, that was you. You got clicked out.
You said I blanked out?
Yeah, you good now though.
For sure. All right, so I was saying The Browns offensive line, they got for a minute. All right. Wyatt Teller got a new contract. Joe Antonio got a new contract. I don't know what's going on, bro. Y'all got to excuse me, man. I don't know what's going on. You feel me? I'm figuring I'm back though. All right. So now for all that's got lost in the sauce, with my slow talking and the little glitches and we're just setting the baseline for the facts about the current Browns team and the four questions that I feel like they'll have. All right. But I'm just going over the facts. All right. Now I went over the defensive facts of guys that are still under contract with the team. I left out Tony Fields, a guy we signed last year, drafted last year. I left out Richard LeCounte. Tony Fields, a linebacker. Richard LeCounte is a safety. And also AJ Green is a corner. I left out. We still got him too. So we got, as far as defensive guys under contract, you got Miles, Elliott, Togia, JOK, Jacob Phillips. You got Newsom, Green, Hill, Ward, John Johnson. So we had 11. All right. And you got Grant Delpit, Richard LeCounte, and did I forget somebody? All right. So that's 12. So you got at least 12 guys. And there's probably a couple more, probably some unsigned guys. I mean, some other little guys I'm probably missing. But as far as mainstay, you got 12 guys on defense that you bring it back for sure. On offense, you got your offensive line, Willis, Wheels. I keep calling him Willis. Jedrick Wills, Joe Batonio, um, J.C. Treader. Well, he might be out, so I'm gonna say Nick Harris, um, Wyatt Teller, uh, Jack Conklin, James Hudson III. All right. You still got Blake Hance, I believe, and Drew Forbes, I still believe. So that's your offensive line. On your running back room, you got Nick Chubb, um, Kareem Hunt, Demetric Felton. In your receiver room, you got Donovan Peoples Jones, Anthony Schwartz. In your tight end room, you got Austin Hooper. You got uh, Harrison Bryant. You got Baker Mayfield at quarterback. You got Case Keenum still under contract, even though this year an option. So I don't know what they're gonna do. So for the most part, you got 6, 7 line offensive linemen. You got these 2 tight ends. You got these 2 wide receivers. You got these 3 running backs. You got at least 1 quarterback. All right. So for 44 starters or 44, I say 44 players as starters and backups. All right. The Browns got about 7, 10, 13, 14, 16. They got 28 players. All right. And I'm going to say why they got 28 players because I didn't mention a lot of guys. So let's get into some of the guys that I didn't mention. I didn't mention a guy like Jarvis Landry, who's on the last year of his deal, who could be cut and could save the Browns about $14 million. I didn't mention a guy like Austin Hooper, who could technically be cut and save the Browns another $10 million, $9 million, even though he'd be a $3 million cap hit. but that'll be $22 million back to the books. All right. Um, I did mention Austin Hooper, but still, I did mention David Njoku, who is a free agent. Uh, I mean, he's a Browns free agent, so they still got the rights to him per se. It's a little different in football than it is in basketball. And I believe they want to bring him back, and he should. Um, you got other free agent guys, guys who are definite free agents. Rashard Higgins, a guy who's been here for a minute. David Njoku, Chris Hubbard, Malik Jackson, Jadeveon Clowney, Tack McKinley, Malcolm Smith, Anthony Walker, Ronnie Harrison Jr., MJ Stewart, our punter, Dustin Colquitt. I even think our kicker, I don't know, I think our kicker might have one more year. But all of these guys, filled important roles on this team. Now, um, it's a few of these guys that they should just let walk, just period. Um, a guy like MJ Stewart deserves to walk, not because MJ Stewart is not a good player, but MJ Stewart can really start, get experience, and evolve his gameplay somewhere else and really get paid. Ronnie Harrison is the same way. I like Ronnie. He has the build that you would want for the type of way that it looks like defensive coordinator Joe Woods for the Browns wants to run that defense, but he don't all the way fit. So I will see him walking. Um, Malcolm Smith, Anthony Walker, two linebackers. Um, it gets interesting. There is a world where I see Anthony Walker coming back, but I believe that totally, totally depends on what happens with Jadeveon Clowney. We'll get into that in a second. Um, you got guys like Malik Jackson, defensive tackle. I don't think he's going to come back. Sheldon Day is a guy that possibly could come back, but he might get swooped up by somebody else. Um, Chris Hubbard is a guy they want to come bring back. Listen, everybody else like Chris Hubbard. I am not a fan. Um, I'd like Chris Hubbard as a right guard. I think as a right guard, he's a suitable starter. Not a Pro Bowler, but a suitable starter. Maybe in the right offense, if he was playing in the right guard for the Chiefs or something, maybe he might look like a Pro Bowler, but right, anything tackle is not him. Center is not him. Uh, right guard, backup guy, rotation, swing, lineman, cool. But at the same token, you got Brian Bill Callahan, bro. You can develop one, and I think James Hudson the third, Blake Hance, those two guys, fit the bill of swing line. So, a guy like Chris Hubbard to me could walk. It was reports that the Browns are interested in bringing him back, but I think that's a waste of money. David Njoku, like I said, is a guy they definitely should bring back. Rashard Higgins is a guy that probably deserves to be able to go somewhere else and really earn some money and earn some play. Um, you know, a lot of these guys were making a lot of good bread. Rashard Higgins was making about $3 million a year. David Njoku was making about $6 million on his last contract. Malik Jackson was making 5. Jadeveon made 10. Tack made 4. Anthony Walker made 8. Ronnie Harrison was getting about 3. All right, so we talking about 20 or $30 million back to the Browns salary cap. You know what I'm saying? When these guys officially become free agents. You know what I'm saying? And that's not even including if they choose to cut Landry, which it looks like they're going to do, which is going to bring another 14 million back to the cap. And then whatever they choose to do with Austin Hooper, which could be cut him or trade him or whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? And that's another 9, 10 million back on the books. So we looking at a Browns team that could ultimately hit free agency, which technically starts on March 16th. So we're about 11 days away, 10 days away. Um, you know, they could potentially hit the open market with 50, $60 million in cap room. You know what I'm saying? Between the cuts and whatever the salary cap gonna be officially, they in good space. Now, the Browns do have guys to look at to resign, you know. Um, which once I get into this, now I want to get into my 4 questions. All right. So my very first question, because it's two noticeable things wrong with this Browns defense. Uh, and that is a run stopper in the middle of the defense. We're speaking defensive tackle, middle linebacker, both. We don't have a guy to do that. Now, we got a guy that we could play over Miles with JOK. We got a guy that we could play, over our opposite end with Jacob Phillips. But you need a guy in the middle, a thumper, a threat, a force, somebody who is feared. You also need a guy at that defensive tackle that just always got to take up 2 blockers. He is not a guy you can block with one guy. You need 2 blockers every time. All right, and you need that type of guy when you got the type of edges that the Browns got. So you got Denzel Ward, um, who is on the last year of his deal as well. So the Browns' two biggest needs: figuring out what the passing game looks like. All right, what does a Kevin Stefanski passing attack look like as head coach of the Cleveland Browns? We know what his running game look like. We know what his blocking scheme look like. But what does his passing game look like? All right. Also, how do you stop the run up the middle? Two biggest questions, of the 4. The third question: where is your special teams unit? Kicker, punter, returner. It's non-existent. Special teams is a glaring elephant in the room. All right, even more than the suspect passing game is the elephant in the room. All right, and the fourth question is this next year make or break? So that fourth question you can't really answer. It's gonna be hard to answer till we actually see what moves they make. Um, and let's get into the moves they can make. All right. DeeTrynt, Game Changer Sports Talk, Industry Sports. Make sure y'all share, like, follow. Um, and you know, Andrew Berry, General Manager Andrew Berry for the Cleveland Browns, and head coach Kevin Stefanski, for the Cleveland Browns came out, to the NFL Combine going on right now in Indy. And they more or less, said the right things. Hey, Baker is the starter going into 2022. You know, we take into account his injuries and things like that. We expect him to come back and play better. They've also said that their job is to improve the team in every way possible, at every position possible, which means nothing's off the table. So let's talk about the passing game. You either for Baker or you against Baker. If you ask the masses, I think everybody should just call a spade a spade. Man, Baker Mayfield is a talented guy. He's a hard-working, blue collar type of guy. He had runs with a certain moxie, a certain it factor to him that just makes you want to play with a guy like At the same token, though, Baker Mayfield in 4 complete seasons has yet to show that he can he could beat an opposing defense with his mind. He has yet to show as a #1 overall pick that mentally he's different than everybody else when it comes to the X's and O's of football and executing it from that position. Um, Baker Mayfield still has happy feet. Baker Mayfield still panics. Baker Mayfield still, is ego first from what I see. Not, I'm not saying he's selfish. I'm just saying that he hasn't grasped, the full understanding of what it takes to excel at that position in the National Football League, which is being able to read coverages, diagnose tendencies, and basically capitalize over on a defense trying to overachieve. That's really what this boils down to. All right. So what does the passing game look like? Even if you go into the season, worst case scenario, you go into the season with Baker Mayfield as your quarterback. Yes, that's the worst case scenario, which is a great thing for the Cleveland Browns organization. And the fact that your worst case scenario is coming back with the quarterback that you drafted #1 overall 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Nothing wrong with that. But they could upgrade. Now, you had the rumblings. Hey, Aaron Rodgers could leave. Hey, Wilson could leave. Derek Carr could leave. A lot of these guys could leave. And a lot of these guys still could leave. All right. But the real question is, what does Kevin Stefanski want? His job is to call the plays and execute the game plan. Coach, offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt's job is to put together the game plan and work on with the QB on his mechanics, his footwork, and his execution of the game plan. So the question is, who do they believe in? Now, if you're asking me, they're clearly not sold on Baker, and they have every right not to be. This is a new regime that did not draft Baker; they're not obligated to. But he is their worst case scenario. So they don't move on from Baker unless they've decided. All right. Now, what do they decide? Do they decide that they want to develop a quarterback right now to be the backup to Baker Mayfield? And they say, hey, we just going to rock with Baker and we going to draft us a quarterback, either with the first pick or that second pick. We drafted us a quarterback. All right. And then, you let Baker rock out. You groom this quarterback to take over. Maybe Baker comes and has a hell of a year. You franchise tag him. All right. Let the young quarterback still run. This is worst case scenario. Let the young quarterback play maybe 2 years on the bench. So it just depends on what type of quarterback they want and what they see. Could the Browns be after a Malik Willis? Do the Browns feel like, listen, next year we could try to offer a haul, you know, to move up and get a quarterback like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. But the Browns don't expect to be that bad of a team to be in the top 10 position, or they don't have enough draft collateral and players to move up from what they consider the 32nd or 30th, 31st pick to the first, second, or third pick to draft a quarterback. So realistically, they will have, if they're going to draft a quarterback, they're going to have to draft a quarterback this year. Now, here's another interesting scenario. Say they gun ho on drafting a quarterback at 13. because it's a lot of receivers that you could get. It's a lot of receivers that you could get, after 13. That'll still be on the board. Uh, the Browns could, they got the 44th pick, so they could definitely do something at 44 with a receiver. The Browns, though, the 13th pick might be a hot pick. The Browns could trade back and collect a couple more picks and then draft a quarterback. Now, like I say, worst case scenario, they draft a quarterback and do that. But the Browns could say, okay, we're going to go in with this young quarterback. We're going to fit the weapons around the young quarterback. Somebody dynamic that's going to electrify the team. It's a lot of teams that need a quarterback. That's lightweight willing to overpay for a quarterback they think they believe in. Is Baker available for trade? People talk about trading Baker so they can acquire something. But what if somebody says, I got a first, a second, and a third for Baker. A first this year, first and third this year, a second next year for Baker. Do you pass that up? If you the Browns and the team says, I'll give you 3 draft picks, 2 of them this year, for Baker Mayfield right now. You got the 13th pick. Do you make that trade? Then if a team says, say a team like Philly say, hey, it's a player that's about to fall to 13 that we really, 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 really want, and we trade you the 15th and the 16th pick to move up to the 13th. Browns, do you take that? All right. That's 2 interesting scenarios because, like I say, you could draft your quarterback, use the other picks to draft his weapons. You could use those picks as ammunition to then go trade for a quarterback that that they like. Could be a Russell Wilson, could be a Aaron Rodgers. It could be Deshaun Watson. Who I think is more the leading candidate than anybody is Deshaun Watson. Um, you could do that, and it may not necessarily be Baker for Watson, but some of the collateral you got from trading Baker for Watson. And now just think about that. If you do something like that, you still gonna end up with 2 first-round picks this year and 2 second-round picks this year, most likely. You know what I'm saying? Or at least 2/3 and 2/4, or 3/3 now and 2/4 that you already got. You feel me? So you definitely could draft a Malik Willis, bring in a little vet that could just, time over. And people say, why would they trade Baker? I have to emphasize that this regime did not draft Baker. I have to also emphasize that Baker has been a bad news headline majority of his career with the Browns. From Hugh Jackson to Dorsey to Kitchens to Duke Johnson to Odell to Njoku when he got injured. I mean, every year is some negative connotation associated with Baker Mayfield. That's supposed to be the face of your franchise and the leader of your team. A team that is trying to change the culture. Oh, Baker helped change the culture. That's fine. But we know this like a job, right? Everybody play their role. Some people come in for a season, help show some things, do some things, have an impact. They move on, go about their business, and you grow as a regime and you keep building your culture with somebody that fits the role a little better. You know what I mean? And that happens. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? But this regime don't want that type of noise. They want something better than that. They want something different. It could be just that alone. That's well within their right. You get into it with too many players. You get into it with the staff. I think it's better if you had a fresh change of scenery with somebody who will believe in you a little more. And, we're going to go our own way. All right. So guess what? Even if the Browns come in with this quarterback, he don't really work out. Why? Worst case scenario, the Browns end up with a top pick in the position to get a CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. Now, people say, oh, it's a waste of season. It depends. You know what I'm saying? It depends. The league is good right now. So a bad season could be, 10-7 and miss the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And that's 3 games over 500. You know what I'm saying? So, but now, like I say, they could do that. And they could do none of that. The Browns could do absolutely none of that, right? They could be firm on the fact that, hey, we're riding with Baker. We're going to the season with Baker healthy. But even if they do that, they still have to address the backup quarterback. Case Keenum is not a long-term option at backup quarterback. Baker Mayfield, at his size and the way he plays and the things that happens, he is, you know, not injury prone, but he is more susceptible to injury than quite a few quarterbacks. I mean, maybe not more than any other quarterback in the league, but he might miss a few games. You need a good backup that can come in and play. So the fact that the report came out a few days ago, or a couple of days ago, that Baker's Mayfield agents was meeting with Brown's front office to reinforce the fact that Baker was starting and they weren't going to bring in a backup veteran, a veteran to back him up and potentially compete, just tells me that Baker already know he on the thin leash. All these things, all right, because where there's smoke, there's fire. All these things are a precursor to some unnecessary BS. So this is, I'm like, everything's on the table. They could possibly trade. Like I said, they probably could, right? You said we gonna give Baker some weapons. We're gonna let him play his last year. We're gonna bring in some solid weapons. All right. Once again, you still gotta address the backup quarterback. I just don't think Case Keenum is gonna go into this season as a backup quarterback. I think the Browns are gonna get some type of quarterback they can groom if they can't trade for a quarterback, a veteran quarterback that can start now. Bottom line. It could be a Malik Willis, it could be a Desmond Ritter, it could be a Sam Howell, you know. It just depends on who falls where and what. But they definitely need receivers to complement this running game. David Njoku is a guy who they could use as a receiver. Um, which, reassures the fact is why you could let a Rashard Higgins walk. They could totally keep Hooper and say, Hooper just need to be able to play with a better active Baker. They can keep Harrison. They can re-sign Njoku and use him like a receiver. He probably don't get top receiver pay, but he gonna get a decent amount as a receiver. You know what I'm saying? Or a hybrid, however they work that out. All right. But then you gotta still get receivers. Now, Amari Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys, he looks like he's gonna be released. Allen Robinson is going to be available. I don't think Devontae Adams will become available, but it's possible. Cole Beasley is out there. They say Christian Kirk from Arizona is out there. Maybe Andy Isabella. All right, quite a few names that I name I don't like. Not for our team. Beasley, Isabella, not names I'm too cool with because we already got a short quarterback. So if they're gonna roll with this short quarterback, you need big receivers. So guys like Allen Robinson, I think that's a guy that could probably be brought over here. You know, Andrew Berry always signs two free agents, and then whatever his free agents he gets draft picks to correspond with those free agents. So right now, like I say, your biggest two things is your passing game, your whole passing attack. What does it look like? And how do you stop guys from running up the middle of your defense? In order for them to really do this, even more reason why I think certain guys could be let go is because they gotta bring back Jadeveon Clowney, bro. There's no way that you spent all these time trying to get this man on your team. You finally get this man on your team. You pair him across from one of your best player on defense. They perform spectacular. 23, 20, 24 sacks, 25 sacks or something like that as a duo. There's no way you don't resign this man. All right? He won a big contract. Listen, bro. What is a big contract? 15 million a year? You're not paying your linebackers for a couple years. You're not paying quite a few people for a couple years. The only other person you got to play is Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward, when healthy, is worth $20+ million a year. But because Denzel Ward is a little injury prone, $19 to $21 million a year, so in my opinion. 20 would definitely be the number. 5 years, 100 million, you get 60 up front, 55 up front, some shit like that. That's cool. You can give Jadeveon 15 million, $16 million a year. You got Miles for another 5, 6 seasons. You go ahead and just sign Jadeveon for, I said I would give him like 4 years, like 70 mil. 5 years, 70 mil. You know what I'm saying? I would give him 15 million a year. I would at least give him like 60 million and give him like 40 of it up front. And that way, I say 65 million, 65, 70 million. You know what I'm saying? Give him like 35 up front and he can earn the other 25. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool. We make it to the playoffs. He lead the league in tackles or something, whatever crazy. Little incentives you want to throw in there. Now locking them two in secures you on your edges. Miles gonna get sacks. Jadeveon gonna get stop the run. It's real. Now you can really just focus on shoring up your middle. It's guys in the draft that they can go after. You know, uh, quite a few guys. I ain't gonna really get into the laundry list of names. But you got the Winfrey guy. You got the Davis guy. Um, and you got some free agents coming out. Now, I think the Browns should go after a certain free agent, and that's Taven Bryan. Now he's a free agent from uh, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They may look to keep him as a guy they drafted a few years back. He about 25, 26 in the league. But he like 6'7", bro. And I just feel like if you put him in the middle, a Jadeveon, a Miles, and you could just rotate whoever that fourth guy is, man, that'd be monsters. Um, when it comes to middle linebacker, um, I really think, it depends on what they're able to do with Jadeveon. Now, I think Denzel Ward gonna get his money. I don't really see in what reason, shape, form, or fashion they don't pay Denzel Ward. And maybe Denzel Ward likes Cleveland enough to only take 18 million instead of the 20, leaving them some room to be able to sign some other guys. So it's kind of fire. You got Tag McKinley. Uh, I like Tag. I think Tag played well for us, and I think you know he would have been very more impact. He'd have been very impactful towards the latter half of the season had he not got injured. Um, Even though I think he got injured in one of the last games though, but he had been out in and out the lineup all year for real. Uh, I wouldn't mind bringing Tag back. You give him the same deal, 1 year, 4 million. See how he hold up and all that. But I like the Tag. Uh, I pause because, you know, I'm at a relief that, my 30 something years of being a Browns fan, these Browns really are in a really good position. Like even if they let all 1 year last year guys go, that includes JC Treader the center. Uh, even if they let all these guys go, at core, this Browns roster is really talented and it's really good. Now, in all fairness, this will be a good year for the Browns to have a lot of picks. And this is also a good year for the Browns to have a lot of money, cap space, and a lot of picks. And from an analytics standpoint, they have to be looking at that as the go-to move. Because imagine if you move Hooper, if you move Hooper, Jarvis, and Baker, you're talking 19, 29. You talking 40 something $1 million back on the books. They draft a quarterback. That quarterback ain't gonna take up too crazy, especially if they take him in the second round. And then still, if they do trade Baker and do that, that really gives them a window to bring in a bridge quarterback, maybe like a Mitchell Trubisky. You know, it allows them to do a few things, but they need a receiver. It's interesting though because the Browns gonna get receivers. They gonna get them, but which ones they gonna get, bro? You know, do they go after a Garrett Wilson, who's a game breaker, a guy who can get separation? Do you go with a tactician like Chris Olave, who's underrated in his athletic ability and his ability to break away from guys? Do you go after the game breaker in Jamison Wilson, who has the whole total package, but he just has to return from injury? Do you go after a Christian Walker? Do you go after a Drake London? You know, do you wait and go after a Justin Ross, a guy who's been forgotten about but made plays and won multiple championships as the leading receiver on a championship college team? Um, there's just a lot of guys. What do they envision? If it's me, you go with the best guys. How I scheme it. This how I always schemed it, bro. I need a mobile quarterback with at least one good bruising running back, a receiving back, and then I need one speedster over here that's really like a number one, number two, number one, and then I need a big receiver over here that's really like a number two, number one. So ideally, I would want like a DK Metcalf, and a CD Lamb. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me, that would be my ideal hookup. DK Metcalf 6'3", 6'4", 220, big guy, speed, game breaker. And then, you have your 6'1", 6'2", game breaker guy, you know what I'm saying? And then my slot guy, I rotate my slot. You know, Slot is something that is an X factor to me. My second running back could play the slot. My athletic tight end could play the slot. I could have a nice a third receiver to play the slot, but it depends. Sometimes my third receiver could be a big guy. I want to take advantage of some linebackers or some safeties who ain't big enough, or maybe I want a speedster right there who I take advantage of the middle of the field for guys who ain't fast enough. You know, It just really depends. But for me, I like to have that option. And I think Kevin Stefanski, thinks some of the same way I think, in my opinion. So, a guy like Garrett Wilson is on their radar. A guy like Treylon Burks is on their radar, in my opinion. Christian Walker is a guy on their radar. Jahan Dotson is probably a guy on their radar, but I think Justin Ross is a guy on their radar. a guy who who's proven, who's played. Um, I think those type of guys on their radar when it comes to the receivers. Like I say, as far as free agent receivers, I think Allen Robinson is definitely on their radar. Mari Cooper is somebody they could probably go after. They keep saying Mike Williams. I think that's more of a media push. For one, I don't see Mike Williams leaving Justin Herbert to come play with Baker Mayfield. And that's the reality. And that's another thing too. It's hard to entice raw free agent wide receivers to come to your team if your quarterback ain't that guy or a guy they think they could play with. Baker Mayfield just proved that it's hard for him to play with top talent. Unfortunately, that's the result of the situation. Cleveland chose Baker over Odell essentially, and that's how the cookie crumbled. Odell got a ring now. Shout out to the Beckham. You feel me? Basket in glory. My God, I'm glad you got your ring. You feel me? Um, but they gotta figure out that passing attack. They got to. As far as the middle of the defense, I think, like I said, they probably gonna go after a free agent guy. I wouldn't be surprised if they did one free agent receiver and one free agent defensive tackle, or maybe even linebacker. Um, I fully expect them to bring Jadeveon Clowney back, and I think he gonna get somewhere around 4 years, like 65, 70 million. You know what I'm saying? Denzel Ward gonna get his bread. He gonna get about 5 years, 98, 103 million, something like that. And he gonna be locked in because everybody else locked in for a minute, and then you could draft a fella in the space of free agency, certain free agents. And guys knowing that these guys gonna be here for a minute, even if they don't like the quarterback. Knowing that Chubb will be here for a minute, knowing that Njoku will possibly be here for a minute. And then, like I say, getting rid of some of these guys helps bring back the money to re-sign a lot of these guys. Jadavion is important. Denzel Ward is important. You gotta bring those guys back regardless. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to. Um, you know, Malik Jackson, he was cool, but you got Tommy Togiai and you got Jordan Elliott. So, they could see a defensive tackle in the draft they like. I think they gonna get a veteran guy though, a guy that's been playing, a young vet possibly. Uh, you know, I think that's just the direction they gonna go. They probably gonna try to scout free agency for him. If they have to draft one out, they will. Uh, Outside of that, man, who kicking the ball? All right, we gonna get into winding this down, get to the end of this. We gonna come back and do a segment about the Cavs. Um, these Browns, football my first love, man. It's always my first love. I can talk football for days. Um, but this special teams unit, they gotta figure it out, bro. Cincinnati had a special teams unit that helped get them to the Super Bowl, and so did the Rams. So what are the Cat Browns gonna do? When the Browns were shitty, they always had a special team squad, a returner, a kicker. You know what I'm saying? We need to get back to that. We need a place kicker that's gonna help us win games. We need a punter that's gonna help us take advantage of field position. We need a dynamic returner that's gonna help break the game. So, you know, these are questions that they need to answer about the special teams. Uh, guys who gonna play special teams as far as the tackling and all that, you gonna get those guys as you build through the draft. And it's easier to build through the draft when you always got your stars locked in and you know who you building around for multiple years. So that's why I say, I emphasize a guy like Jadavian and a guy like Ward, they get re-signed on top. Because they ain't got to re-sign Baker this year, they got money to go ahead and re-sign them. A guy like Jarvis is gonna walk. Uh, no, no love lost. Jarvis was instrumental for us. Love him to death. As a player for our team and a contributor to changing this culture. But you gotta let that man go somewhere where he go eat because right now Baker just ain't it, bruh. I listen. I'm anti Baker, bruh, and that's no offense to Baker, bruh. But after 4 years and you still can't read defenses, that is a big problem for me personally. That's just something I can't get past. That's like the unthinkable to me. You the first overall pick, you can't read defenses, bruh. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't even keep taking the chance of seeing if you gonna turn around and do it. Now, granted, you should by right get a chance a year three in Kevin Stefanski's system. You should get a chance. Because the first year is the player filling out the coach. Well, is the coach filling out the player, trying to figure out what works for him. And then second year, once a player gets comfortable, you know what I'm saying, it flip flop. So the coach got to show like, okay. And then by year three, they finally find a common ground and they mesh and put it all together. Some do it quicker than others, but it's usually the model to follow. So, like I say, Baker could fully come back, but with all the drama and all the extra, wow. But we need a special team. Uh, I feel like if they do draft a quarterback, I like Malik Willis and I like Desmond Ridder. Guys who are very coachable, who are already very good. They just need to get their body up. And we have the team to support a rookie quarterback. And that's a vital key. We play analytics, we play maximize and still build the team for winning. This team is built for a rookie quarterback. The national media not gonna tell you that, but the Browns are built for a rookie quarterback. And that's why, if any time, this is a good time as any for the Browns to take a quarterback. They say ain't none of these quarterbacks but they said a lot of drafts was very good. Now, don't get me wrong, the draft when we took Baker was very good. It produced, you know, a couple good quarterbacks so far. And some still defining their careers. But but the Browns could take a Malik or a Desmond Ritter right now. If it was me, bruh, I'd trade Baker. I'd trade his ass. If you go give me a couple of good picks for him, especially this year, I'd trade his ass. And at 13, and if don't nobody take, I either take Malik Willis or Desmond Ritter. Now, it's smart to get your quarterback first, get to 13 first, and then worry about that. But I take Malik Willis. I don't think nobody gonna take Malik before 13. I think he gonna fall to the Browns, and I think the Browns should take him. If you gonna run with a short quarterback that's mobile, if you gonna go the direction of mobile quarterback that's dynamic, can make plays, somebody that you think you could teach how to play the game, you got two good running backs that you can lean on realistically. You could get guys in. You can at least get one good veteran in. You got already one good tight end veteran in. Uh, you could bring back Ninjoku. You could do a couple things. It's not like Ninjoku. It's not like tight ends make the most money in the world, bro. You can bring Ninjoku back for $8-9 million a year. You know what I'm saying? You could definitely do that if you get rid of Jarvis. That money got to go somewhere. Until you actually re-sign Jadavian, that's $10 million off the. That's a sign that lets me know it's time to get on here and end this fight. But like I say, the Browns, like I said, if it was me, I'd trade Baker. I'd draft Malik Willis. Uh, I would pursue uh, Amari Cooper, and I would pursue Allen Robinson. Just because Allen Robinson is a move to change type of guy. Yeah, he a big target. You know what I'm saying? Would he want to come play with another rookie quarterback? Probably not. But when you got Nick Chubb in that offensive line, different from what he had in Chicago or what he had in Jacksonville, I think he would be enticed to come. Uh, all receivers want big money, so it would definitely just come down to the dollars. I don't think all these guys will be outrageously trying to ask for $20 million a year. Uh, you know, some of these guys will take 15, 13 even. You know, I think you could get a guy like I think you can get any one of these guys for 13 for the Browns if you get rid of Baker Mayfield. And that's just my opinion. You got to get rid of Baker Mayfield, bro. You got to let him go. You got to go ahead and let Baker go. Get what you can get for him and get up. Go ahead and take Malik or take Desmond. But I just say take Malik. Now you could take Desmond though, because Desmond is bigger. 6'4", you know what I'm saying? He go like, he led his team to the national playoffs. He led that team. You know what I'm saying? He a guy who's got progressively got better every year. Browns didn't necessarily work out with him, but they could have did that on purpose to see who was gonna be clamoring that. You know what I'm saying? To see who would they have to be jockeying to get him. A lot of the guys that probably would go after Desmond Ritter is draft after us. Just period. I don't think he a guy that's high on a lot of people draft boards. I think he would still be around in the second round. They would be in a position to trade up to get him, with third rounds and draft picks from the following season. So uh, those two guys, man, out of all the guys that they got to pick from, those two guys that if I was gonna trade Baker, I would get those two guys. Two mobile guys that's smart, that's still coachable, athletic, that I could, protect with my running game and my offensive line. Yeah, like I say, I go after Amari. Uh, I would definitely keep the option to trade for Calvin Ridley, but I think in order to trade for Calvin Ridley, we're gonna have to give up a player, and it's not gonna be Austin Hooper. So I mean, but you know, the Falcons could be like, hey, we'll take Austin Hooper back, and you take Calvin Ridley, and maybe we can throw in like a fourth round pick or something. You feel me? And be done with it. That would definitely give us the window to be able to re-sign Njoku for like 9 million a year. You feel me? 8.5, 9 million a year. Give him a long term deal. You bring in an athletic guy, a guy who gonna need his tight end, so he gonna get opportunities play action with a rookie quarterback. So that guy gonna get some. The plays gonna be more disciplined and focused, scripted. So it's gonna be roll out plays that specifically go to receivers. A big body like an Allen Robinson, or a guy over the top like a Amari Cooper. A guy who can get explosive plays. Because you need a chain mover and you need a guy who can get explosive plays. So that's the two receivers you gonna see them go at: a chain mover and a guy who can go and special plays. Now, they already got two minor guys like that. Donovan Peoples Jones, a guy who can be a chain mover, and a guy who can get explosive plays, sometimes for you too. And then you got a guy who's really electric and Anthony Schwartz. So you already got two minor guys on there. You know what I'm saying? You need two bigger guys on there. two mainstays, two proven. So, like I said, uh, Allen Robinson, I don't think might win. Allen Robinson is the guy. Amari Cooper is the guy. Look out for that. Calvin really, like I said, they have to trade for him, but they're gonna have to give up some. And I think a team like the Falcons will probably be looking to get Hunt, um, especially being that they don't got no running game. Now they could draft a quarter running back. You got Bryce Hall, you got a couple other guys that's coming out. They could draft, but I don't want to give up Hunt, and I'd rather trade Baker and draft a quarterback than give up Hunt for a receiver. That's just me. Uh, they could go after a guy like Treylon Burks. Uh, you could see them draft their explosive quarter running, draft their receiver with their quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And if they do look like that, then they, like I say, I don't think they will move up though. I just don't see the Browns moving up when they can move back, acquire picks, and still get the quarterback. And then they can still use Baker. And listen, bro, I know y'all don't like me saying that shit, and I'm gonna get a lot of backlash. I don't care. Trade Baker right now. It is teams out there that would love to have Baker Mayfield, believe it or not. But Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry deserve the right to run with their own quarterback. You feel me? Especially with the team they got right now. They could draft a quarterback, draft a receiver with him, and that's why I look at Philly. Why would Philly trade up? Because it's a lot of good offensive linemen. Philly could stay right there and draft them some offensive linemen and draft them another receiver. But Philly probably want to spend in free agency too. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I just feel like that's a team that can move up. I think they will use those two draft picks to move up to a 13. I think that's a team they could beat, in my opinion. It's Philly because they got more draft picks than they need, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? And the Browns in a position right now with the base squad that they got, that if they just got a little more cap room and a couple more picks, like they could really make some noise. Really make some noise, bruh. You know what I'm saying? And the idea of getting your rookie quarterback and getting your rookie receiver, dynamic receiver right now, and pairing them with a veteran or two. And I say two veterans. Two veterans, bro. Draft you a receiver, pairing with two veterans that you can get, because you got to remember, bro, they was just paying Odell Beckham $15 million a year, and they was just paying uh Jarvis Landry $14 million a year. So they was already just dedicating $30 million to the receiver position. All right. They could still do that and just have better receivers that just and not saying better receivers like they like them too trash or something. I'm just saying players that better fit what they want to do right now. You know what I'm saying? What Jarvis they was asking Jarvis to do, what they was asking Odell Beckham to do. You don't have to pay guys that much money to do that. And them guys is older. You can get some younger guys to come in and do that for you. A name DJ Shark was thrown around. DJ Chark, a guy that was over in Jacksonville. A guy who's come on. They could go that option, but I think if they do draft a quarterback, which I think is more likely than anything, bro, because let's just say, and I'm just telling y'all, bro, let's just say they convince, um, and Amari Cooper to come over here for $15 million a year. Amari Cooper like 27, 28. I think he younger than that. I think Amari Cooper like 26, but I think he like 27. even still, you can get him on a 3-year deal right now. You know what I'm saying? A 3-year deal for like 40 million. Now that's a good deal for a receiver. Only the first 2 years guaranteed. The third year is an option. That'll be raw right now. You know what I'm saying? You could get Allen Robinson, for about the same thing, bro. You know what I'm saying? 3, 4 years, 40 million. You know what I'm saying? That they ain't trying to break the break. They trying to win, bruh. And you know why I picked Amari Cooper and Allen Robinson? Because you got to remember where they was at, bruh. Allen Robinson was with the Jaguars, and then he went to the Bears. All right, they two franchises way more unstable than what Cleveland is right now. Cleveland is a prime star rising team that just need a passing attack. You feel me? So if you get a guy who can run and pass like Malik, and you say, okay, bro, we got Chubb and them back here, so you know you gonna get dedicated pay to you. All you gotta do is show up. He gonna be with that. Amari Cooper was with the Raiders, and then he went to the Cowboys. All right, the other teams that could pay them guys the money to come over there is either teams they already been on, or teams that's already got receivers already that they paying big bucks. Cleveland like the only team left. The Raiders, you know what I'm saying, but all the other teams they already spent on receivers. So really, the Browns is really only who left, and the Browns got one of the most talented rosters right now, even without receivers. You know what I'm saying? So the Browns is a great, not Cleveland is place to be, but that team is one of the best teams to go to. And I just feel like those two guys, you could get those guys, you can spend about 25, 26 million, you know what I'm saying, 28 million, and get those two guys. You spend 30 million to get those two guys. And now you got a game breaker, a guy who can take the top off the defense for real, who can get separation. You got two veteran guys at receiver who can do that. You already got two young guys. You could draft another young receiver later on in the draft, trade up for him. You know what I'm saying? Because there's quite a few in this draft. And you said it just said end up being like a Justin Ross. I'm just talking that Justin Ross into because bruh, if you get Malik Willis with Justin Ross as the young up and coming stud, or even if you get Jameson Williams, or if you end up with a Garrett Wilson, you know what I'm saying? But them guys gonna go already. And I just think the Browns, even though they ain't talking to Desmond Ritter, they could get him. But they went and they worked out with Malik Willis. They picked his brain. Like they specifically targeted him. And you know why I think they targeted him? Because we could have drafted Lamar Jackson. Hugh Jackson wanted to draft Lamar Jackson. And the quarterback position is becoming a mobile quarterback thing. Baker is a short quarterback, but for the way Stefanski ran the system, it's okay to have a shorter quarterback because of everything else he got. Um, at 13 is a good position to get a quarterback because a lot of teams in front of you don't really need a quarterback, and they probably not gonna take Malik. They probably gonna take, a Howe, a Sam Howe. They probably gonna try to take a Matt Carroll. They probably gonna try to take a Kenny Pickett. You know what I'm saying? I think a guy like Malik Jackson, you know the stigma on black quarterbacks, bro. You know how they do. They ain't about to take him. You know what I'm saying? He gonna be there for the Browns at 13. The Browns, I the Browns gonna take Malik Willis at 13, bro. Now I may eat my words, bro. And if I eat my words, I ain't tripping. But the Browns gonna take him. They gonna take him. But I'm gonna go ahead and end this, bro, because I still gotta go to work tomorrow. So like, share, comment, follow. We'll pick up this talk later on. You know what I'm saying? DeeTrynt, Game Changer Sports Talk, InDaStreetzSportz. It was a pleasure. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all follow us on all social media platforms. Catch us on Podcast, Anchor. You know what I'm saying? Definitely check out the later episodes, man. Let us know what you think. Holla at your boy.